Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to Triple R, Ryan's Real Reactions, and today we are diving into something that's been happening for the last week that just keeps getting weirder and stranger, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it by now, but if not, we're diving into the Nancy Guthrie case, the Today Show host, Savannah Guthrie's mother, who is, I believe, 84 years old and disappeared, aka possibly kidnapped, days ago. So we're watching a video from Megyn Kelly. I feel like some people don't like Megyn Kelly. I don't know much about her, but it's just one of these videos where it looks like it's going to highlight the case nicely for myself and for you guys, and we could all come to some conclusions together. So we'll just put that aside. Megyn Kelly highlights new information about Ransom and Nancy Guthrie kidnapping press conference. Man, they got all the keywords in there. Good job to her team. Okay, this is a big one. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of moving parts. There's so many things going on. It almost feels like a movie. There's freaking ransom notes. There's fake ransom notes. Somebody got arrested the other day because they tried to get Bitcoin out of people, and that wasn't even a real ransom note. Like, what is wrong with people? It's just wild. Okay, but I've been waiting to hear more about this, to discover it, to give you my first time reaction. So here we go.
We just watched an extraordinary press conference from the FBI and local authorities in Tucson, Arizona, in connection with the disappearance of Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie.
Now, also one thing I know is that the area she lived in, very secluded, very dark. I believe there was a Google Nest or Ring camera that wasn't recording or wasn't paid or something. But yeah, spaced out houses, not like a neighbor right on top of you, dark, secluded. Definitely one of those eerie kind of places at night.
There have been several new items released by the police and the FBI there that were not out in the public before. Okay, I'm just going to give you a couple off the top of my head, and then we're going to go through them and the sound bites with our panel in 1 second. He's offered more details on the timeline. Okay, so for the first time, we heard that the doorbell camera disconnected at 1:47 a.m. We knew that Nancy was dropped back off at her home around 9:45 p.m. on Saturday night. Now they have it down to 9:48 to 9:50 because they saw that the garage door, there's a timer on it, I guess, was opened at 9:48 and it was closed at 9:50. So that, we believe, is when she got back home. Then he told us for the first time at 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnected. Boom. That's the beginning of the crime. That's obviously what he's trying to tell us. By 12:12 a.m.
My question, though, even if something disconnects, there's no way to subpoena that to get the footage that was on it, right? Like, because yeah, people could disconnect it, but then what? Everything just goes to crap. If I don't understand, especially if it's Ring or Google Nest. Is there not some sort of cloud that captures all that footage? Because hey, isn't that the point, to make sure that if something happens, there's still recorded evidence of it? Doesn't it go somewhere? Unless they say, oh, she wasn't paying for it. I don't know.
Doorbell software, though they have no video, he now confirmed, but the software did detect a person on camera. They have a written notification from, we were told that it was a Nest camera by Ashley Banfield, that it was a written notification, person on camera, or person at the door. And you'll get that if you have a Ring camera or Nest cam. And they don't have video of it because it looks like Nancy Guthrie did not have a subscription to the Nest camera.
I'm sorry, but hey, let's change that, Google and Ring. It's like, hey, if you forget to pay your subscription and then something insane happens where a life is on the line, let's make sure there's still recorded footage. And maybe you can't get the footage, but at least maybe someone can, like the police, if they go to you and say, hey, we need this footage, and they say, we have it, okay?
Just by Google. And in order to get video of any particular moment, you have to have a subscription.
That's crazy. I'm sorry, that's crazy.
Didn't. And so all we have now, according to the sheriff, is a written record that there was a person at the door at...
Is that not nuts to anyone else, or am I just being over dramatic here?
12:12 a.m. Detects person on camera. Now, he did say could have been an animal. He's not giving complete credibility to the eye of the Nest camera, but we are getting a timeline here. 1:47 a.m., doorbell camera disconnects, and then 13:12, let's see, So 25 minutes later, right? 13 plus 12. Yeah, there is 25.
Quick math there for Megyn Kelly.
5 minutes later, the software detected a person on camera. So it's interesting to ask yourself what was going on in that time. It was 2:28 a.m. that her pacemaker app showed a disconnection. She got far enough away from it that it stopped communicating with her Apple phone, which was left inside the house. So by 12:28 a.m., we're guessing she was out of the house.
Now, what's also really sad is I read that she has medication that she needs, where if she doesn't take it, she could possibly pass away. On top of the fact that her pacemaker disconnected, or at least from her tracking, it disconnected. But I doubt that these people are filling prescriptions. Because that would give it away, unless and I'll give you guys my opinion, and I'm sure you'll give me yours. I already think this is some sort of inside job. I think it's somebody that knows way too much. I don't think it's just because if you're going to burglarize a home, you're not leaving with a person, right? Like, that's just not usually the way it works. This is not Taken. This is not Jason Statham. So I don't know what it is, but somebody is trying to get back at somebody in that family in some way, shape, or form, in my opinion. And this was some sort of an inside job, and they knew a lot. They knew about her. They knew about the pacemaker. They knew about the doorbell. They knew about everything. It doesn't seem like it was very messy, and I do believe they did say that they found blood on the scene as well, which I'm worried. I don't want to catastrophize, but I've always read that, even in any situation, the first 48 hours is the most important when it comes to hostage or kidnapping situations. For someone that age, without their medication, blood found on the scene, I am worried that Nancy Guthrie is no longer alive. I hope she is. I'm praying that she is. This whole thing is ridiculous and scary, but as every day goes by here, I'm starting to be worried because everybody under the sun in that entire state is looking for her. And there's no leads.
All right. So that's about a 43-minute period entirely that this whole thing went down. And the sheriff walked us all through it. He also appeared to confirm that they did tow Annie Guthrie's car. He wasn't as clear as we would like. He got very sort of jumbly with his words and seemed to just be saying, oh, this is a matter of course. Yeah, we took a car. Well, the only car we know of is Annie Guthrie's, at least we think we know of, per the Ashley Banfield reporting yesterday, that her source was saying police had towed and impounded Annie's car. He was asked about it. He fudged the answer a little bit. We'll get into it, but that was an interesting thing. He said that they have no one of interest and they do not have, he said, we have no one you would consider a prime suspect. We're just not there. But he's now shifting his on-the-record statements about that involved Annie Guthrie's husband, Tomas, and I don't know why he's doing that. He went on the record.
It seems like this guy, the sheriff, this case might be too big for him. This is a big deal. I think maybe there's nerves. I think this is probably uncharted territory. I've already heard people saying he's kind of loopy with things.
With the New York Times yesterday saying it wasn't Annie Guthrie who dropped her mother back off, which they'd originally reported. It was Tomas. So he made that change himself with the New York Times. It was picked up everywhere, Fox and Hollywood Reporter, you name it. Now today he was asked about it and he wiggled again. Today he shifted to, well, let's just say it was family. Well, why are we just saying it was family? Who was it?
Right.
Why would you be shifting it and making a point of that? So
that's a really big deal. Like, who dropped her off at night is a big deal. And why are we getting different answers every different day here? That's weird. That's bizarre. Because I know that a lot of people were saying, oh, the brother-in-law is the person of interest. And you don't want to just accuse someone of that because that's a huge deal. There was also a video of Savannah, I believe her sister, and I don't know, brother, I'm not sure. And people were saying, oh, it looks weird. It looks staged. I will always say in times of grief and trauma, you can never really understand what people are going to look or sound like. Sometimes it might look or sound rehearsed or staged or weird. but that's just because this is a shocking situation. So I try not to look too much into that, because sometimes I think people go, oh, I don't know, they're acting weird, the sister's weird. And sure, could she be involved? Hey, who knows? But she's probably not, right? And if she isn't, we don't want to make things worse and accuse their family. But to me, I still believe it's an inside job in some way, in correlation to someone that knows the Guthries.
It's an interesting thing. And then the FBI agent got out there, and while they'd been so careful about not disclosing any information about the ransom note, I think we now know virtually everything. We know that it set a deadline of 5 p.m. today by which to send the Bitcoin. We know that it named two things. We heard TMZ earlier today say there were things in there that turned out to be true that the writer of the ransom note referenced, and we believe they were actual true references to the crime scene, and therefore we, TMZ, are taking it seriously, and we believe that law enforcement is. Well, the FBI agent got up there and told us what they were.
And I believe that somebody tried to do another fake Bitcoin thing or something. So someone was arrested for trying to scam, which once again, you got to be a real POS to be doing that.
So we'll play that for you in just a second. Anyway, we learned a lot. We're going to go through it with Jonathan Gilliam. He's formerly of the FBI himself. Also joining me is Chad Ayers. He's former SWAT team leader. And Jim Fitzgerald is back with me now, former FBI.
And we have Ryan Abe. He is a YouTuber
himself and profiler. Guys, thank you for being here. All right, let's just go down the line on what...
You know, it's a big deal when they got the panel of 4 ready to go.
You thought was most interesting, that presser. Chad, let me start with you because we haven't heard from you yet today. What was your biggest takeaway?
Honestly, it's that 5 p.m. deadline that we saw. And Megyn, I don't know if you picked up on it. It's almost like the agent went to the rack back there, and it's almost like that rack had a copy of that ransom note in his, because they kept going back and looking at it. So whether those are just notes that he's made, or did he actually have the ransom note on his person, obviously, or a copy of it, who knows?
And it's just so weird because ransom notes feel like movie and TV. You very rarely hear about ransom notes anymore because nowadays it's like you'll get caught. The thing with me is like, how does that way? Like, let's just say they get their Bitcoin and they get $1 million in Bitcoin, and there's got to be a way to trace all of that. I mean, I know people might say, oh, no, once it goes into the wallet, I don't know how that stuff works. I'm not a crypto guy, but like, really? It just feels so insane.
But the whole idea that is so confusing to me is why, and again, the other panelists hopefully can give their expertise, but why the wishy-washiness back and forth? That's the frustrating part. Listen, I get it. We live in a time where viewers, the American people, are heavily invested in this case. It almost takes me back to the Kohlberger case and the frustrations that the American people had and the viewers had of what's going on. Why are we not getting the answers that we want?
Right.
But we do know that Idaho and that agency had a lot going on behind the scenes. So could that be happening? Yes. But I don't know. I feel like from the presser now.
I mean, that's how I feel about the whole David Celeste case that we covered months and months ago. There's been barely any updates, and it's like, so what's going on? And it's like, yeah, you got to let the police handle it. Right. But it's been like 5 months. There's no justice for Celeste. What's going on? It's like it's like, who is out there kidnapping an 84-year-old woman for Bitcoin? I'm really having a hard time wrapping my head around this.
Sure, we did get a great deal of information on that timeline.
And also the other thing to me, I'm sorry I keep interrupting. I'm not interrupting. It's like I'm apologizing to you, not them. But like, you could say, it's like, why Savannah Guthrie and her mom? Like, is there an agenda? Is it a politics thing? Is it something that Savannah Guthrie said? Is it like, it's Savannah Guthrie, I'm sure, has some solid money, but it's not like she's one of the richest women in the world. And it's not like her mom is one of the more powerful people. They're not politics. They're not in the politics world. I don't know. It's just like, it just feels so random. And I'm sure it will be random until it isn't, but But, is there more to it? And they are just, for the integrity of the investigation, keeping that tight-lipped? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Now we're on the subject of what was in the ransom note. Let me play for you in part that soundbite. Here's the FBI special agent in charge speaking to what appears to have been in there that may have lended credibility to it. or maybe not. SOT 103.
Why this one?
Because this was the ransom that came in and it had facts associated with a deadline, with a monetary value they were asking for. So at that point,
what were some of those?
Yeah, so there on the left you see the blood, which to me is a really bad sign. Now, I know it's drops of blood and not pools of blood, but an 84-year-old woman on medication bleeding is a very bad sign. On the right, you have the sheriff, who I said is a little wishy-washy, and then that's the FBI coordinator right there in the middle. Gosh, it just feels like this is not good, man.
If you can, because there's been a lot of speculation, as you know, if you could set the record straight.
yeah, the ransom itself, one talked about an Apple Watch and one talked about a floodlight. We're not going to go into specifics. It's very important that we keep this investigation moving forward, and we don't want to put more facts out there that others then can use to try to profit from them.
So there was the fake ransom note. This one is they're deeming as the real one. They say they think it's real because they put things in the ransom note to show that everybody that they were the ones there, and that how could anybody know this information about the floodlight and the Apple Watch if they weren't there? Blah 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 blah. That's just to show that they're not like some sort of copycat like the other person who got arrested.
One talked about an Apple Watch, one talked about a floodlight. But he also said later, Jonathan, that because one of the reporters, I think it was Brian Enton, who
Love Brian Enton, by the way. He's an amazing journalist.
was on this show, we were just talking about this issue, raised the issue of, well, when do we think the ransom note was written? Because we all heard that there was an Apple Watch at this scene very early on in this case. And the agent acknowledged that, and even acknowledged whatever's in there about a floodlight, he said could have been seen from the road. So what may have started out sounding very credible may not be at all. Anyway, what was your biggest takeaway today?
Well, that's right. And that was the questions that I was having. Were those things said? Were they released in a press conference? And so it kind of degrades the reliability of that information. I was wondering if...
Oh, so they're also now thinking that that other ransom note could be fake. But also, are there any cameras at all on that entire street that would at least catch some trucks going by and you could see, or cars, hey, that car did, or that person took a while, like anything?
She had an iWatch. A lot of people have an iPhone, have an iWatch, and could be synced. Both of those things could be synced to her pacemaker. But I did take some notes, Megan, if I can go through those real quick, about things that I found that were very interesting and very telling. One is that the FBI did not rule out Bitcoin, right? So they didn't say that Bitcoin was not an issue. So if that's the case, I'd like to know if any of the relatives have any issue with Bitcoin, where they're invested heavily in Bitcoin, or they are experts. There's a lot of people that consider themselves experts in Bitcoin.
I also wanted to say that they showed, I'm just going to go back real quick and then go right up to this point. $50,000 reward. And I know, like, it might sound cynical and you might be like, okay, Ryan, but sorry, for as huge as this of a case as this is, and national, and like, I've seen people put $25,000 rewards for their dogs. A $50,000 reward seems incredibly low. I just wanted to say that. I could be wrong. Could be outlandish for me to say that, but I just feel like, I don't know.
I'd also like to know, at 1:47, it says the camera went offline, but then it says at 2:12, the software detected a person on camera.
Right.
So I'm kind of confused on that. Were there two cameras? Because we've been told there were two cameras. What camera did they see somebody online? Did the software detect somebody? Because the camera going offline, perhaps if there was no movement around that area that the camera went offline, and then when somebody moved in front of it, it came back online. They're not clear about that, so I would like some clarification.
That's a good point.
And then also, once again, if there's multiple cameras, but you have to pay for everything to be saved or recorded, well, really, what's the point? Because I'm sorry, but like, come on, there should be some sort of a backup plan there for when stuff like this happens. God forbid you forget to pay a bill, or you forget to renew your camera, and something like this goes down, and then suddenly the whole point of the camera is non-existent.
Very good point. I hadn't put that together. If the doorbell camera was disconnected at 1:47 a.m., then how was the software detecting a person on camera at 2:12?
Right. So
it's weird.
That to me is, I would like to know it because if somebody saw somebody coming from the front or if they were coming from the back. If they came from the back, for instance, that tells me they're sneaking in. If they came from the front, they could still be sneaking in, but it might be the fact that they just walked in the front. So these are details that I really want to know in these press conferences that I don't think go above and beyond giving away secrets or information. There's a couple other things. I want to know what family member checked on her. So we know who dropped her off now. Who made the call? Because we've seen
On Sunday morning?
On Sunday morning, because we've seen in the past where, I don't know if you know this statistic, but 20% of the people who call in and report a murder are the people who actually did the murder.
Wow. That is a pretty high percentage. I think that kind of makes sense, though.
So
that's like a self-report. And I think that people do that. I mean, look at the most famous case of that, the Mendoza brothers. Right? You know, it's like, or Mendoza brothers, the Menendez brothers. You know, the Menendez brothers had that perfectly, you know, acted out call that would have made you believe it no matter what. So that makes sense.
So
What?
Yes. And so I would like to know who called in, because it's often that it could be the person that had something to do with this. Because as you said earlier in the show, she doesn't attend church. She attends church virtually.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because one of the things that people were saying was, that they found out, or someone checked up because she didn't go to church that day. I thought she just didn't show up to church, but I guess she didn't show up to online church. So somebody got concerned and then contacted somebody, and then they checked up on her, and that's when they found all this.
So this whole...
We think. That's based on one report from the Daily Mail, not yet totally confirmed by all of us.
So where did the concern come from? Did somebody call her earlier? Had they not heard from her? And so where did this come up? That was another thing. I would like to know if anybody in the family is under a financial burden. I'd like to know who benefits from her if she dies. Of course, these are things that are common questions. And
that's a great point, though. If she doesn't make it and something happens, is there money to be given to somebody? Is there a family beef going on? Is there were there arguments recently? Was there some sort of disagreement, a will issue? All of those things, man. We know what money does to people. It can be terrible.
Landscaping going on in and around that house. That's how Elizabeth Smart got targeted. Was an individual was doing the landscaping and then came in through a window that was left open.
They need to hire this guy. This guy is asking the right questions.
There was no robbery that we know of. So that tells me that this was either a personal issue with getting rid of her for a benefit or because of anger, or it was for a kidnapping and a ransom.
I just don't think it's the kidnapping. I do sadly agree. I think it was to get rid of her. I almost feel like the whole ransom thing is just a ruse or a ploy or to get him off the scent or something. It's once again, I will be thrilled if she is found alive. I will be thrilled, like beyond belief. I legitimately might cry because I don't know. It just because then there's a party that's like, well, if they were to do something, wouldn't they have just done it while she was there? Why did they take her? It's like, I don't have the answers to that question. But man, I don't know. It's just such a weird case.
But the ransom thing is, it just doesn't happen that often anymore.
Right.
So that's a whole nother game to kidnap somebody for a ransom. That is a huge game.
Right.
And that is something that gets very technical, very quick. And you have to be a very smart criminal to carry that out. But
and someone that has planned this isn't something you decide on a Monday or a Saturday and do it on a Sunday. This is something that is meticulously planned, not just for days, weeks, months, even possibly years.
Typically see is that people who commit a crime, such as a killing or a kidnapping or a robbery, will use a ruse, such as some type of a ransom. And so that's why I want to know who in that family or who that they know may know about Bitcoin, because either they're the ones going to benefit from it or they're the ones using it for a ruse. So these are questions that I have.
Also, no hate, no shade. Why is that second guy there? He hasn't said a thing.
That came through all this stuff.
He's just there to listen.
TMZ did verify that the Bitcoin account that was mentioned in the ransom notes is a legit account, but they're so hard to trace. You were going to say something, Chad?
Yeah. Now, was I under the impression that she was, and do we know the distance between their residence and where she went to her daughter's residence? Because it wasn't
10 minutes, according to Brian Enton.
Okay. And didn't they mention that there was
4
an
miles.
Uber driver took her there? But then
An Uber driver took her to the daughter's and son-in-law's house for dinner. And then we were told by this sheriff in the New York Times yesterday, the son-in-law brought her home. And now today, he wouldn't go that far. Today, he was specifically asked who brought her home, and he wouldn't say it. It's
why? That's so weird. What do you mean? Like, why wouldn't he say it? That should be matter of fact information. There shouldn't be any cause for speculation, because the last person to see her alive is a suspect. Unfortunately, whether they did anything or not, that is a problem. So why are we now going back on that? I don't like that at all.
I don't know why. We'll play it in a second. We're still getting all of our sound bites together.
And will guy number 2 speak? That is the question.
He also was asked, as I mentioned, are you specifically looking into the son-in-law? And here's what he said, SOT 107.
Are you actively investigating the son-in-law in this case? I know there were reports earlier this week, and you refuted that. You said you haven't eliminated everybody. Have you eliminated him or come close to it, or are you actively looking at him?
We're actively looking at everybody we come across in this case. Everybody. We would be irresponsible if we didn't talk to everybody. The Uber driver, the gardener, the pool person, whoever.
Okay, so he didn't. I'm going to bring Jim in a second, but Chad,
There we go. He's got it.
He didn't rule him out. He said we're talking to everybody.
Yeah, that was some very vague speak right there.
Yeah, but Megyn,
what did you make of that?
Well, here's the thing. He's also said we believe, either him or the FBI agent says we believe she's still alive. And if he is our prime suspect, then he's not acting alone. If we believe she's still alive, well, where is she, and who's got custody of her?
Right.
You know, if that's the case, and you're telling the American people we believe she is still alive.
My question though is, okay, why would they say that they believe she's still alive? That feels irresponsible, almost. Unless you have some concrete, solid evidence to show. Now, I know they're saying, oh, well, they're giving deadlines. So that would mean, that nothing has happened yet. But that could all just be a big ruse. So it's like, I don't know. I'm concerned. Why are they so sure of that? What information? Why wouldn't they say this is what I'm confused on why they would say that, because here's why. If you're the family here, you're getting this false hope here that like, okay, no, everything's going to be okay. And then if it's not, that's going to just hurt way more.
But we know where the son-in-law is. Well, then they're not acting alone, Megyn.
Well, I mean, I see what you're saying. If she's, well, I mean, he could have, like a worst case scenario, if it's somebody close to the family or in the family, they could have hidden her someplace.
Sure.
And be keeping her in some sort of a prison, a makeshift prison, which would free him up. But the cops are all over him right now. You're right. I mean, like, if he did this, they're all over him. The media is all over him. There's no like going and checking on your kidnapped charge. If he's taking care of her at all in order to get proof of life, this is just a completely imagined scenario.
And it's another thing where if the brother-in-law has nothing to do with it and he was just a nice brother-in-law, dropped her off, then this sucks for him because now everyone thinks that he's this kidnapper and he very well probably has nothing to do with it.
He would need he would need some help. Here is a question to the sheriff about proof of life and whether Nancy's alive. Here's SOT 102.
Yeah, this is what I want to know.
Sheriff over here, has there been any?
And look at the land here. So this is her house, right? I mean, this, you know, this may not look like a big space, but like, dude, at night, dark, this is very secluded. You know, this is a zoomed in shot. This is a very big area here. It's a very large home. So nobody saw anything, and like this camera wouldn't capture anything because look at all these brush and shrubs and trees. And then I guess if you look at this, right, like if they have cameras or whatever, that wouldn't really capture anything over here because they're surrounded by trees and bushes and brush and stuff. So it's like it is tough.
Of life, and has there been any sign of life?
I'm going to anything to deal with the ransom notes and that I would defer to the FBI, but no, to my knowledge, we're still looking for Nancy.
Okay. So, Jim, your thoughts on what we witnessed today?
Yeah, not only the profiler, but the forensic linguist, and we would really like to see that letter. I think there may be so many clues in that. I don't know if it's 5 sentences or 15 or more. There's definitely some information in there that I think someone who knows language could determine a lot from it. I also find it odd that there are 2 deadlines listed, like 5 o'clock today, but then we really mean it by Monday afternoon. Usually kidnap, ransom, again, there aren't that many of these that are legitimate. They are very demonstrative and deliberate, and here's our demands. You will not violate it. There can be, give and take room to go back and forth, the amount, the time frame, whatever. But usually they want to set up, they're in control. Here's exactly what we want and when we want it.
So it's like if the one deadline already passed. So it's like, was that a test? And was that their way of saying, okay, well, you're screwed now? But then it's like there's the other deadline. So it's like, okay, so then what happens Monday night when that deadline is gone? Like
Interestingly, Megyn, about 20 years ago, still in the FBI, I developed an acronym called POMIC, and it stands for a lot of syllables here: post-offense manipulation of investigation communication. You can see why I made it an acronym. And what that basically is, when a crime is committed, to cover it up, to make it stage look like it's going somewhere else, people will write a letter, send it to the police, lawyers, the media, leave it somewhere to be found, and that is designed to misdirect the investigation.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
That's what I think. I almost think that the whole ransom note is a diversion, and they probably were like, oh, well, everybody will go wild about the ransom note, which they are, and then they'll be all focused on that, and then we can kind of do whatever.
I'm not ruling out that this is a legitimate kidnapping ransom communication. It may be, but it also could be either a BS, someone playing games with it just for fun, kicks and giggles, or somebody else who was involved in the abduction. And Megyn, the first couple minutes we spoke, we delineated this abduction was for one of 2 reasons: for profit or for revenge. And if it is a revenge thing, and they decide, hey, people are getting,
I feel like it's got to be a revenge thing. If it's a profit thing, well, guess what? There could have been a robbery, right? They could. I'm sure that's a beautiful home. They probably could have taken a ton of things. It just doesn't make any sense to be like, okay, we didn't take anything except a woman, and now we just want a bunch of Bitcoin. And then do they think that they're just going to release? Is there a world where these people or this person or whatever just releases her? They get the Bitcoin and it's untraceable. Once again, I don't know how that works. And then these people get millions of dollars. But like, what are the odds that they won't get caught? I'm sorry, but I still feel like it's really low. So, I mean, you have Trump tweeting about or posting about like wanting to send all of his whatever he can to help, and it's like I don't see a world where they wouldn't get caught. So to me it feels like a revenge thing, and they're just hiding the whole money thing to make people think that's what it is, when to me it feels like some sort of revenge plot.
Close, let me put this bogus thing out to TMZ and some other news station and make it look like it's a real kidnapping when it may not be. But nonetheless, having said that, the FBI has to follow through and go every method they can to determine the provenance of that communication and who wrote it.
Mm-hmm. So there was an interesting comment by TMZ where they basically said that the letters told us, we don't want to talk. Just give us our money. Listen here. This is today from TMZ, SOT 116.
So the final thing about the letter, and again, we're not going to get into all the details, but when the family is reaching out to say we're ready to talk, this letter suggests no talk. Right. That was made clear right at the beginning.
Yeah, and so I think that the family sitting down and speaking that way, that they are trying to change the minds of the abductors and hoping that they actually will, one, provide that proof of life.
But it's like, if you're going to send a ransom note, you clearly want some sort of attention or diversion, but then you just say, but we don't want to talk. So it's like, then why would you send a ransom note? Like, a ransom note to me is the most grandiose thing you could do. It's like calling someone 10 times and then leaving a cryptic text and then being like, and then they finally call you and you're like, I'm not talking to you, bye. It's like, wait, what? You just called me 10 times and sent me a cryptic text. What do you mean you don't want to talk?
But also, clearly there was an attempt to humanize not just Nancy, but also themselves, to say, look, we desperately want our mother back.
All right, so hold on to that in your head and listen to SOT 108 from the FBI.
Does the ransom note that you're working establish any communication protocols in it?
No, it does not. And that is what I think is important, that if someone has Nancy and is demanding the ransom, that there is communication with the family. We talked about has been no proof of life, and there was no other demands within that letter.
See, that's what I'm saying. There has been no proof of life. So for them to say we still think she's alive, to me, is like, you just don't even bring that stuff up unless you have proof.
So they're still waiting for communication.
So there it is, Jim. If this is the actual hostage taker, if she's being held hostage and the ransom note is from her kidnapper, that person doesn't want to talk. He just wants his Bitcoin.
But I'll play both sides of the coin here, Megyn. If it's also someone covering up their revenge abduction of this person, they don't want to talk either, because it's a better way to identify them and pick up some kind of a motive. So very convenient to put in the letter, the communication, I don't want to talk.
Right.
Again, it can...
This is insane. I feel like I'm watching a movie that like Matt Damon and Sylvester Stallone are in with Jason Statham. It just doesn't feel, this feels like a movie plot. It's
argue in both directions or neither direction, but nonetheless, it's not uncommon for people to write. Again, these letters are very rare, these communications. The Lindbergh kidnapping had about a half a dozen different communications, but again, there was no social media back then. Even telephones were in the early days. So now it's a little bit different. And we'll see if some other communication comes in. If they want the money, they put a lot of effort into this case. This is a high-risk crime. If they want the money, they're not going to harm Mrs. Guthrie, and they're going to somehow further communicate with the family. Otherwise, this is all for naught, all risk with no gain, if in fact they don't get the money out of this. So they may want to consider talking to the family.
International.
My goodness, man. Well, this is ever developing. That's why I posted today. I usually don't post on Fridays, but I was like, you know what? I just have to talk about this because it just gets crazier by the day. I'm sure by the time I'm posting this, there's updates and things that are happening and new stuff. So as always, let me know what you think in the comments. There's so much to talk about. Let me know about any updates. And if there's anything big that happens in the next couple of days, you know, I'll post about it. I had a couple videos I was going to make on the weekend like I normally do, but if something huge is if something big changes, that'll take precedent to, let's just say like a Gypsy Rose or Ash Trevino type thing. So, yeah, start the dialogue in the comments. Let me know what you think. I will be praying for Nancy and her family. I don't even I can't imagine what they're going through, and also people blaming parts of their family. It's a lot, man, and we don't know anything yet, and I'm trying not to speculate too much until the facts are the facts. It's just something is wrong, and it feels not good right now. If you made it to the end of the video, of course, give the video a like, use some hype points if you have them, and subscribe to the channel where, hey, sometimes I post 5 days a week. Usually, though, it's just Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. But days like today are when you want those notifications on, because YouTube's probably like, hey, no, we're not going to show you this video. He never posts on Friday. Well, like I said, you turn the notifications on, click the bell, set it to show all, and you'll get every upload just like these bonus ones. Because sometimes they'll just suppress them because, you know, it's all about a pattern. Because, like, if you just click Chris Watts or you just click not Becca Scoops, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. If you just click on those, they're going to give you those videos when I post them as a notification. But then videos like this, they're going to be like, they're probably not interested. It's like, well, I would love you to be interested because I like talking to you guys and I like for you to watch them. So that's why that matters. Okay, that's it. Crazy stuff. I mean, absolutely crazy stuff. And God bless the family, and I pray that everything works out. I'm just very concerned. But that is it for me here on Ryan's Real Reactions. Shout out to the Triple Army for always reporting for duty. As always, please don't bother me while I'm watching true crime. Peace out.